All right. Questions for Jaylen? Start with Sherrod Blakely.
Hey, Jaylen, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you, Sherrod?
Good. Hey, Jaylen, I just wanted to just talk about what these last few days have been like for you. Obviously, a lot of conversations that you have had with players, et cetera. Where are you at in terms of processing all that while at the same time, Jaylen, obviously getting ready for a basketball game and just the balance that you have to strike with those two things?
I mean, it's a lot, but I think it's necessary. I think that we all are, as athletes, came down here to play basketball, but in the same sense, we got stuff that's important to us. So trying to balance both and having conversations and meetings and things like that is all a part of it. And I'm actually proud of our guys for some of the unification that we've shown over the last few days.
Question in person, Gary Washburn.
You guys have discussed the potential boycott. Wednesday, it went down. What were your reaction when you saw what Milwaukee did? And then people have said that you were quite vocal in the meeting. What kind of feelings did you want to get across to the rest of the guys?
Well, it was supposed to be a private meeting, and I've seen some of the headlines, and I think it's an emphasis on the divisiveness of like what took place in a lot of those meetings, but what's not being talked about is the unification that was being shown. Like it was a lot of guys in the room that had a lot of pain. We all saw the recent videos, and we all seen the videos over the years, and frankly, we feel helpless and we feel tired. So I was, proud to see a lot of guys come in there and share emotions and have real conversation in the room. Instead, I feel like people are focused on, the divisiveness of the conversations. But to be honest, getting all those guys in the same room to talk about one thing and what's important. And like the NBA has pulled out all the stops, to be honest. Like we put Black Lives Matter on the court, we've done all the PSA announcements, all the video clips that we could possibly do. We came down here to use our platform, and that's exactly what Milwaukee did. And we all saw its effect. We all saw the awareness that was raised. So to be honest, I think in hindsight, we will appreciate what Milwaukee did. There's a lot of guys that came down here for reasons other than basketball and to use our platforms. And Milwaukee, did exactly that. And if necessary, it could be done again. Hopefully that won't be the case, but, using our platform is what a lot of guys came down here for.
Question in person, Mark Medina.
Yeah, good to see it. There's some reports out that President Obama spoke with some guys. Were you part of those conversations? If so, what were some of the messages that he had?
I was not a part of some of those conversations, to be honest. I don't know what those conversations look like, so I can't really answer that.
Tim Bontemps.
Jaylen, obviously you guys don't get a chance to have, 10, 12, 13 teams of guys in a room together very often. I know obviously the circumstances were not great, but when you talk about the unification that you guys have had this week, like how much good has come out of the fact that you guys can all get together and have conversations like this in a way that obviously normally throughout the course of a regular season, you never get that kind of a chance to.
Exactly. So I think that was important. I think that was clear that all of us wanted to get in the same room together, which is rare. It doesn't happen very often. We're all centered around the same cause, the death of the shooting of Jacob Blake. And I feel like there is a interest in the criminalization of African Americans or Black people in this country. Like Jacob Blake was shot in the back 7 times and he's handcuffed to a bed right now. As a reminder, it's a reminder to the nurses, it's a reminder to his family, to his staff, as of being paralyzed wasn't a reminder enough. And it doesn't make sense, to be honest. It doesn't make sense. The criminalization of Black people is an example with those handcuffs of Jacob Blake being strapped to that bed. Like, as of being paralyzed was not enough of a reminder. It doesn't make sense to me.
Mark D'Amico.
Hey, Jaylen, you kind of touched on this in your first answer, but there's so much going on right now, from the meetings, the boycotts, to the conversation that you're having right now with us. How are you compartmentalizing all of this and somehow going to take the court for a basketball game tomorrow? Because I have to imagine that that has to be a serious mental challenge.
Yeah, it definitely is. But it's a challenge that I willingly sign up for. We got to keep pushing that line. We got to keep demanding justice. We got to hold people accountable. We got to hold the police accountable, especially the ones who are not operating in a way that is that's recognizable by human beings. A part of that is qualified immunity. A lot of people, unjust situations are hidden behind, qualified immunity, the fact that you won't be held accountable. So some of those things we need to push for state to state. That's something I would like to take to Boston and have a conversation with the mayor, the governor, or the House or the Senate about, those conversations, because things like that are important as well, because I don't think that not following directions should lead to death or being shot in the back. We've seen, those narratives be in different situations, not the same. We saw a 17 kid AR 2 people in the middle of a protest, with an AR-15 or whatever he had, and he nothing. Seems like they resolved, he was arrested or charged, but it seemed like they resolved that situation without having to shoot him. And these situations with other people of color, it doesn't always end in that manner. So we need to have these conversations, and it's important. Racism exists. It is here. Anti-Blackness exists. And despite all the people, the 30% or 40% of America that disagree, that's the percent that we need to enlighten and continue to understand that, this is not okay. This is a human issue. This is not black versus right. This is right versus wrong.
Mark Murphy.
Hey, Jaylen. I know it's a little different in Boston because the Celtics don't own their arena, but how much of a short-term impact can opening these arenas as polling places have by November?
That's another thing. Initially, when we went into those discussions with the Board of Governors, every arena was supposed to be the case, not just arenas that were owned by, the team that we play for. Every arena needs to be open. Voter suppression is real, and I don't understand why that's a problem or that's an issue, but every arena should be open and should be available and access to be able to have people of color, disadvantaged people, to feel like, they can vote. Voting shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be this, this much of a disconnect between. It should be something easy. And yet there is, less and less voting polls in certain communities, less and less workers in certain communities. And it makes it extremely difficult. As difficult as it already is already, it makes it even more difficult to get outside and vote. So I would like to see every NBA team, regardless of what was agreed upon or whatever, open. And I would like to see more players and athletes, people of influence, bring it to their cities to kind of combat that.
John Corrales.
Jaylen, how confident are the players in long-term support from ownership when there are a number of people in these ownership groups that have contributed money to political opponents, people who politically oppose some of the things that you're fighting for?
I'm not sure. I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for myself, and I am not sure. I'm not as confident as I would like to be. I would say that. I think that promises are made year after year. We've heard a lot of these terms and these words before. We heard them in 2014, reform, and we're still hearing them now. A lot of these are just reshaping the same ideas, and nothing is actually taking place. Long-term goals are one thing, but I think there's stuff in our wheelhouse as athletes and our resources and the people that we're connected to that short-term effect is possible as well. Everybody keeps saying that change is going to take this and change is going to keep that. And that's like the incrementalism idea that keeps stringing you along to make you feel like something's going to happen. Ain't nothing happening. People were dying in 2014 and it's 2020 and people are still dying the same way. And they keep saying reform, and ain't nothing being reformed. So I'm not as confident as I would like to be out here, these words that are being said, but like I said, we pulled out all the stops. There's nothing more that really could be done. To be honest, here as athletes in the NBA, I think the NBA did a good job initially, about putting Black Lives Matter on the court. Our jerseys have a message behind them, TV, timeouts. We've done a numerous amount of videos, and it's still not enough people. People are still getting killed in the street, and it's still like the climate of America is still the same. But once again, I commend what the Milwaukee Bucks did. We all seen its effect and awareness that it rose, and in hindsight, we're gonna appreciate Milwaukee for doing that, because all of us have been here. All of us came down here with the platform that we wanted to use, and nothing has changed in the outside world, so Milwaukee, what they did, I understand it, and it could be done again if necessary.
Final question, in person, Gary Washburn.
Jaylen, how much is mental health involved in this? Paul George said a few days ago he was in a dark place, he wasn't playing well. The bubble was getting to some guys. You kind of joked that you see Donovan Mitchell, 5 times a week. I mean, how much did that play a part in the kind of the guy just needing to get some things out, and in terms of obviously what's going on off the floor in the Black community, but also just their fatigue?
It's very important. It is real. I've spoken about it for sure, and I know I've talked to a lot of guys. I've even heard one thing that was funny, like when we were in the elevator. I got in the elevator, and Mason Plumlee was in the elevator. I think he was getting ready to go to practice, and he was giving himself words of affirmations like, "I want to go to practice. I love basketball. Like, I'm happy to be here." And I was like, man, like everybody's kind of going through that same thing, but I don't want that to be confused with the bubble, with that and those feelings around that to wanting to leave, because of social justice. I don't want to confuse the two. To boycott because you feel or to strike or whatever because you feel strongly about something, or to raise awareness, shouldn't be mixed in with your feelings about the bubble. So that was one thing I wanted to make clear when I was in the meeting.
All right. Thank you, Jaylen.
Thank you.
Jason Tatum will be next.